just got on. He's young. I'm glad that he's here with us and listening to this with us. Hopefully, as we gather more and more, like he's saying, and I envision that too, going to the communities and bringing this knowledge to them, awareness to them, that there will be more of our tribal council representatives that will be involved in this, because after all, they are our spokespersons for the nation to nation, as they say, if we are sovereign. So when we went to that ceremony, it's the first time I ever heard the name. It's the first time I ever went to any of his prayers. He's an awesome young man, probably in his early 30s. We see his holy horse. And like ceremonies I've been in the past with all the older men that are now gone, with the exception of Kashi Everett, are really simple ceremonies. And from those ceremonies we gain a lot of knowledge. And he asked us to, four of us to pray. And, I thought to myself, who am I? I'm not anybody. I'm just a common man. But I accepted that responsibility to do what was asked of me, and so did my relatives accept that responsibility that evening to speak on behalf of us and to share all of this that is going on and to gain more knowledge. Like I'm glad Joy is here to bring her knowledge about how do we peacefully protest. How do we do this? Because Wasi, the spirits said that it will be a peaceful protest and nobody will get arrested. Nobody will get arrested. And I truly believe that. But most important of all for me, when we say Ocheti Shakoi Chantet Insiai Inajiko, means stand with a strong heart. We didn't say Lakota, Dakota, Nakota, or Sisit Hoa, or Ihunk Hoa, or any of them. We said Ocheti Shakoi Chantet Insiai Inajiko. Stand together with a strong heart and reconcile ourselves as a people, because we don't have that anymore. We are always on each other's cases, blaming each other for this, blaming each other for that. Well, you did this in your life and you did that, and it gets to be a war of words amongst ourselves. And that's why I talked about this acculturation, assimilation, colonization. It's not a cult following, it's a prayer as one. We have our own individual ways of praying. I was up early this morning, earlier than I usually get up. Beautiful morning. I had to cook for a grandson who was going to play basketball, so I got to see the Ampa'o. Not the sunrise, but when it starts, the lights start coming. And I had a chance to pray, sing a song at my house. Never done that for a long time. And it's just a wonderful day for me. But bringing our people back together amongst ourselves and sharing and helping each other, I believe that this is what we are set out to do. We are going down that road and relearning our responsibilities as men and women in the roles that we play amongst our people. I'm really thankful for the young people at Tosca John Edwards today and the others that helped to get this ready. I didn't have to lift a hand. I didn't have to do anything. They did it all. They wanted to plan this and they did. I'm really thankful for that, for them doing that. And we all have our roles as individuals, as men and women. And some of that discussion was talked about and shared too. What do we do? It's an opportunity for us to look at ourselves as the Ocheti Shakoi, because this pipeline that's coming from the three affiliated It's crossing our Aboriginal homelands. And it's going to cross the river. And it's going to go on the east side of also our Aboriginal homelands. And as we were discussing this, a relative from Sioux Valley who's been married here for a long time, he would be considered a Hunkaton long ago, the years that he spent with us. He said, Yukta Po, because there was 3 of others who was sitting with him. As far wherever that buffalo roamed, those are our homelands. Wherever that buffalo was, far north, far south, east, and west, those were our homelands, as the Oceti Shako. So we have to really get a grasp on that too. But there are, like I hear Jeff talking about various dockets. Those those lay claim to some of it, a major majority of it, that have been laying dormant for a lot of years now. We haven't had an opportunity to bring those up and talk about them. And as we go forward with this, we also must realize that, with taking the responsibility for caring for the land and the water and the air, that we have to work together. We have to do the things that need to be done. We have to do that. The Walaka, the Hokila Num, the Skinchep, Skata, and Hakeha, long ago, and I wakarja ki tiata mumka. I ablez the Hunter. Oh, he Hunternash. How much has it got that K? When the Omnicha ki the na Chashana Wiakicha, Yonkabna Omnicha. Wakarja ki hana, Wakarja. That Hetchen said, Unkum, Unkia, Unkum, Tiata Unkum, Duktel, Chashana Wiaki, Omnicha, you have Hunternash. For those of you that don't understand, just an example. There's 2 little ones that are playing. And long ago, the children stayed away from these meetings. They stayed home. And I'm not, and if I say this in public, like I've done it before, and I've caught heck for it, by saying that. But there's a responsibility, a time and a place for everything. So things need to be said like that, and they need to be learned. And so we have a great responsibility in all aspects of our life. Everything starts at home. And when we start coming together as we are, like Tashi, John Eagle Senior has said, awakening a sleeping giant. And that's what we are. We're still alive yet. And we're going to get together and we're going to make this happen. Maybe it won't be in our lifetimes, but we'll get the ball rolling so that the generations behind us will continue it from what they have learned from attending these meetings. There's a lot of young men that come and they listen. I know what you talk about. I mean, there's a lot of patients. They sit there and they listen. Listen. Some of them even share some of the things that they have learned from their parents or grandparents. And that really, that's really good. So as we go along this road, we're going to be making some great inroads. Like our relative Joyce said, we have to have the belief. We have to have that belief. She said the Spirit stopped those trucks. If there was a non-believer in here, I said, all that they'll be saying, that can't happen. But we've seen it. A lot of us have seen that. We have to have that woichake, that belief. Woichala, the truth. We need to believe that. for this to be successful, because it's going to affect so many things if it's allowed to cross that river. So I don't want to, in what I'm going to say now is to have a put down on our tribal government, but they have to start letting us be aware of some of the things that are happening around us. We have to be aware of that. There's 17 individuals that sit on that council. They don't have the answer to everything. It'd be foolish to think that they did. And I say that in the best way that I can. As leaders, they come and they listen. And if they have anything to say, they'll be asked. They'll be asked for their knowledge because they know about it. They know when they're going to ask them. So we gather here this evening, and I know this is just the start. But I have a lot of respect for my Tashi John Eagle. We met each other later in life, but we've always known that we're related. And we search for that relationship. It goes back, way back into time, generations ago, that leader, that relationship occurred. And I'm really thankful that he has been selected, and I'm really thankful that he's accepted the role and responsibility as a Tribal Historic Preservation Officer, THPO responsibility. And I know that he'll do a wonderful job for us, a great job for us. So I'll say that much.
I have a question, Bridget.
Yes.
You said get permission. What do you mean by that?
Get permission to camp on these sites across the river. The sites that I've already, the route that has been chosen to come from the three affiliated. If we want to set our camp further north outside of Standing Rock, we're going to have to get permission from those landowners. It's going to be very difficult because from what we're hearing and what our understanding is that they've already gotten money for that pipeline to go through their lands. So that's what I talk about, getting permission. Because
from them or the tribe or
from them,
landowners?
From them. That's their land.
Even on the lot of land.
So we can't stop them.
Oh, we can. We will. We must.
Permission from the landowner, then you don't have any problems.
Right. Then we can peacefully camp as they have told us to do. And I really believe that. But even if we can't, I've already taught, and Sheila's going to come, maybe she'll be here running a little bit late too, LaDonna Brave Bull Allard. And she already designated spots where we can camp on her land and her family's land, right up against the Cannonball River, all the way east to the Missouri River. I really was hoping that she would be able to have land that adjacent to the highway north of Cannonball, but that belongs to the Wicks brothers. And so that's as close. We can get within, I think, probably a mile of her land to that road. So that's as far as we come now. So, with prayers, we never know what may happen. But as Wasey has told us, Wakani Yeska, you come, told us, no, peacefully protest. So if we try to barge our way onto land that, although it's aboriginally, it's ours, we're gonna cause a lot of commotion. And that's the part of this that I wanted Tim to share with us is the Aboriginal homelands, the sacred sites that are going to be disrupted, destroyed, in some cases by this pipeline coming through. So, it opens a big can of worms for them, because once we start pushing for the rights for our Aboriginal homelands, we're going to make a big fuss for the United States government. And I guess in closing, March 18th, 19th, and 20th, which is a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday evening, the lawyer for the water board, I believe, Peter Capicella, is going to be talking about the pipeline on that Friday evening. And then Mario Gonzalez is coming on, he'll be presenting on Saturday to talk about what Jeff was talking about, the dock. I can't remember the numbers across over there, Jeff, but across on the east side, because we've even had one tribal chairman say we have no rights across the river.
Docket 74A.
Docket 74A.
I have a question. Are they collecting leases from the lands or what?
From what lands?
The land across the river?
No, nothing. But they're still there.
Sen unresolved i Honktoanakle.
Yeah. I Honktoank, I hena Tabka, Makotia. I hena. So you know, and that's what I see happening here. That there's going to be a lot of other things that are going to play into this picture. And, you know, if comes push to shove, we need to get a lawsuit together. We need to take it into federal court and put some big money on it. Because money talks to these people. And this is the destruction of our environment. Destruction. Really, really bad. And the Navajos are currently going through something similar. Remember when that river turned to gold? You had all of that stuff that spilled in there from that old gold mine. They're dealing with that right now too. And that's what we're going to be dealing with if we don't stop this. We can't say we won't stop it. We have to say we will stop it. That's how we have to look at this. So I'm going to be asking Tasha John to give us an update also. And although he's been there, what, less than 2 weeks or 2 weeks? Somewhere in that. Was it
10 days, but it feels like 10 months.
Been at work as a director for 10 months, but he's really been active. And what I like about he's doing is he's asking for knowledge. He's asking. He doesn't pretend that he knows it all. Just like Tosca Charlie, doesn't pretend he knows it all. And that's what I like about all of us. Because I don't know how to peacefully protest, Joy. I have no idea. I won't even know how to violently protest. Put it there, I don't know how to protest at all. But
No, I think the tribe needs to stand on treaties. And there's a saying way back, we're supposed to use the name of Sitting Bull, standing rock. That's the only way we'll be recognized by the United States government.
yeah, and you see, that's the thing I talked about with assimilation and acculturation. Was I was really it really hurt to have the grade school down Little Eagle was called Sitting Bull School, but they changed it to Little Eagle School, Little Eagle Grant School. After all these years, we have to know our history. We have to know the names. What does that mean, Little Eagle? What does that mean? You know, some of the history books are finally starting to add it in there, of the stories that we know along that Grand River, and that story especially. Tiwi chak te hecha, you can't. There we chasha ki kancha to makasi domne makao watchan ki charge talk ki soya. You can't hear what kind ki hena. Well, why tibel el vayaya. You can't. You talk. Ako hecha to hecha he. You look. Lila. Tako ota oyata kitha kita okahi kibulukta that yukta for you know, I don't have anybody else has any questions. that's as much as I know. I've done my part of what I was asked to do. I talked to LaDonna about her land, that's her family's land up there, and how close we could get to Cannonball. Tashi Tim, we talked about teepees that night, and I said, yeah, we can, don't worry about them. He said, so on that fulfilling the prophecies of our grandfather, I wish all of you would come. Mr. Leonard Littlefinger, an elder from Pine Ridge, is going to be doing the presentation on sovereignty. That first speaker, freedom. Are we really free? Freedom. God Chase always talking about, building our economy, building this and building that without relying on anybody else but our own resources. And those are the things that this elder has been talking about for years. So come and listen and pick up from it and gain all the knowledge that you can from these presentations and discussions. That's March 18, 19, and 20. Everything's been finalized now for that Omnicha. We had a tough time. Will it be a meeting or will it be a conference? What is it going to be? Workshop? Just went back and said, well, the simplest thing is Omnicha. It's going to be an Omnicha, a meeting. That's the closest we can come to all that. Omnicha. So, Henala pinked a little, when I can't let was slow noise in the Niama Hunski a little tricky. I asked Tashi John to fill us in on a few others. Lila won't put a chichi chapel.
Remember the tornado that hit up at Fort Bertha and wiped out the man camp? I think you guys ever remember that when you pray or when you pray, your prayers are more than what you ask for. That man camp got destroyed. And a lot of those people during that tornado didn't know what tornado weather was.
Let's see, I'd like to hear from her relatives, so we all know where she's coming from. Stay.
My name is Morgan Bringsmoney. My Lakota name is Oiskawi.
Why don't you tell them your dream?
A dream?
Yeah.
I had a dream 2 years ago. During a
See. You want me to tell it? She has seizures once in a while. And we were down in Bridger. We had been asked to go to Bridger. And we were having a meeting down there, a treaty meeting down there, and talking about Keystone. And in the middle of the meeting, she had what they used to call grand mal seizure. She died on the way to the hospital. They had to shock her back twice. I was in the ambulance with her when they did that. She came out of that seizure saying that there was 2 snakes that were coming, and in front of the snakes there was fire, and there was all this death and destruction. And she said that the women were in the front. They had red shawls. Behind the women were the men. And behind the men were the children, and the children were gathering this medicine. And I know which medicine that is. It's what they call that plantain, a little weed you find. And so these 2 snakes were coming, and anyway, she was saying that the women had to be in the front, and then the men, and then the children. She was telling us how we were going to stop it. And when Obama said because we were watching on my little Kindle. When Obama said that he denied Keystone, she said that at that moment she saw the head chop off of one of those snakes. Sharon and I were in the room. But that other snake was coming. That's Dakota Access. There's more. There's another one. That's the one on the West Coast. She's had other seizures and she's seeing these other different snakes that have come. There's one going on the West Coast, right? Enbridge. And then the one going, the other Enbridge Line 9 that's going east. Up in Canada. Those are Tarzans. Which is even deadlier than the Bakken.
Come on, John.
I'm happy to let Chante was stand up there choose up a little.
Oh.
I'm going to ask something of you, and it's going to be challenging for me to say this to you. But I don't want to ever hear anybody say, we're not going to stop this. Because we're not going to put that energy out there. We got to have faith. Got to believe in our prayers and believe in why we're even sitting here today. The things that are happening. Here on Standing Rock, growing up here, I hear you guys all the time reminding us that the future generations, they depend upon us. I'm going to share a story that years ago Everett shared with me. During another time of crisis, when those 2 towers fell. I was working at Child Protection here in McLaughlin. Everett was working in that office. I was coming on a cut-across road that morning and the sun hadn't come up. I couldn't explain what I felt, but I got overwhelmed with the need to cry. And it was so bad that when the tears came to my eyes, I had to stop and pull over. And I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what that feeling was or why I was feeling that. And then when the sun peeked up over that eastern horizon, I heard what sounded like a football stadium. Like when that cheer raises, all those voices raised up, and then it went away and died. And I didn't know what it was. I was standing out there that morning by myself crying. When I come in the office, Everett was sitting there watching TV, and I saw that second tower fall when I walked in. We had lots of talks about that, him and I, during that time. But he shared this one story one morning where he talked about Lala Sitting Bull. And Lala Sitting Bull going to the hill to fast. And how he asked Tunkashla to show himself to him. Everett told me that in the sky a face formed. I looked down at Lala Sitting Bull and asked him, Takoja, what is it you'd ask of me? And he told me that day that Lala Sitting Bull grabbed a handful of dirt and held it in the air up to Tunkashla and let that dirt fall through his fingers. And he told me that Lala Sitting Bull said, all I ask is that you remember my people in the future. I've never forgot that story when he told me that, and I've never lost my faith in Tunkashla. Because that long ago, this name that he mentioned already prayed for us. So we're not helpless people. We're not in this alone. When we met at Long Soldier, I shared with them up there that I served the United States Army. And because of that experience, I know that we can't win a war if we point weapons at them. We're not going to win that. We're all going to get put in real uncomfortable positions, put in uncomfortable places. what I shared at Longsword is that someday my children are going to tell my grandchildren about me. And someday my grandchildren are going to tell their children about me. And I want them to know that I cared enough that I stood up and fought for them. And that's why I'm here. Because being around this Teoshpa, especially at Teoshpa from Sitting Bull's camp, you were always reminding us about that. Generations that are not yet born dependent on us. So now I'm going to remind you. Tiksya. Tokata wachoicha duki. Hena wachinya. Reicha. The tribe recognizes they're not doing a good job at getting information out to everybody. So people are getting the incha, and rightly so. But I met with the chairman earlier this week and also met with Anshi Tim Mentz and Doug Krogos from the Water Resources. And they're looking for something. The tribe allocated $500,000 for this fight right now, unanimously. And Doug told us that a portion of that money is going to be set aside to bring on our own experts, to hire a hydrologist, to look at that EA, look at that plan that Dakota Access is saying and be able to take that plan apart, utilizing that technology and that science. Water Resources and the Water Board told us the reasons why that bridge that they tried to build from Fort Yates across the river towards Lenton. They shared with us why that plan failed, and it had to do with the earth underneath the river and how unstable that is. I told us about a test drill that they did where they bored into the river and then went back and it had moved 30 feet. So that's how unstable that is under there. Dakota Access saying that they're going to go under a certain depth of the ground and then go across. So they're going to use that data. They're looking for that data now to be able to say that that's not good enough. That we've already looked at it, hydrologists have already looked at it, and it's not good enough. That's going to fail. I don't know where Tanshi Tim went. He was here when I pulled up and then he left, but he's struggling because it was his life work, THPO. That was his life work, protecting these sites, and he's struggling with having to share that now, the information. But him too, he was guided through ceremony that it's time now. We've got to start sharing those things. There's a tribal resolution passed years ago that declared the Aboriginal homelands of the Oceti-Sakowin. It's on a tribal resolution. Standing Rock Sioux tribe was the first tribe to have ever done that. And that's that language that Tanshi Virgil shared, that wherever the buffalo roamed. So we know that our Aboriginal homelands go way up north into Canada, way over east to Wisconsin, as far south as Kansas, and as far west as Wyoming and Montana. So even from THPO, from a Tribal Historic Preservation Office perspective and the federal laws that we're going to use against them, say that anytime they disturb dirt within our Aboriginal homelands, then we have an interest in that. But we have to be smart about how we do this, because hey, Washichus are smart too. It's their laws. We know that 1868 treaty, Everett said that we need to talk about treaties. 1868 treaty, when it was agreed upon and signed, they took that law back to Congress and ratified it without knowing or letting our people know. They changed it. So that can't be the only way that we're going to fight them, is with treaties or with their own laws, because they're good at it. They're smart about it. They're going to find ways, loopholes through it. But the hope is that we put enough barriers in their way that they get frustrated and they're going to say that's too much trouble trying to go through their lands and try to divert it somewhere else. Kelly shared with you there's a Aboriginal claim across the river, the Ahunkhtawana. It's been unresolved. It's still there. They never let go of that land. They never said that that's not their land no more. Tashi Tim pulled out a map and showed us everything on the east side of the river, from Cannonball going all the way down to Mobridge, still has those names in Dakota. Every hill, every butte, every creek, every stream was on that map. Campsites. We know that through looking through winter counts, that even our winter counts correlate that at one time the Dakota were on that east side of that river. When we went to that ceremony, we've all been to ceremony, most of us here. So what happened in there isn't what impressed me, because we've all seen those things and heard those things. What impressed me was how that young man that ran it carried himself, and how he expressed himself. That ceremony happened in Lakota, as young as he was. But what the Spirit said, and they recognized this name that Everett shared, what the Spirit said is that long ago a man from here fought a battle like this. And he said that why they won is because of that Chinupa and that belief in their prayers. But those spirits cautioned us. They said they didn't want any of us to go to jail. They don't want that. So they gave Pajuta to help us when we speak. And then they said that if you guys want to have a camp, if you're going to camp, again, they gave Pajuta. They said, put this in the ground. Believe in your prayers. So in a good way, I'm going to ask you again, don't ever say that we can't stop this. Because then you're doubting Tunkashla. They backed us into a wall. They backed us into a corner now. So at these meetings, that's what I told them. I said, you put us in a situation where now we have no choice. We have to fight. And you're going to wake a giant. Because when we talked to the chairman, we said, if we stand by ourselves, we're going to fail. But if we enact our protocols as Lakota people, we can unite the Ochete Shakoi to get behind us in this fight, and those chairmen are already talking. And then I told them about what our relative from Cheyenne River said. She had a whole list of pipeline fighters that they're waiting for us to open the door. Old Nebraska, Cowboy Indian Alliance, those ones from Rosebud. Whole list of pipeline fighters that are waiting for us to open that door to bring them up here. People that have expendable income. See, we don't know what that word means because Lakota people, we don't have expendable income. We can't just throw money around. But out there's people that have what they call expendable income and they're wanting to invest in this fight. That's what our relative from Cheyenne River said. So there's already discussions going on because we need a focal point. We need one place for that money to come in. So there's already discussions about trying to set that up for us. And we told the chairman what she had said. And he told me to come to this meeting and say, open that door. Engage them in that fight. Get them involved. Because if we try to take this on by ourselves, we're going to fail. Our relative here talked about what happened at Man Camp. Past 2 years at Harney Peak, when the Wakia come back, that's the most people I've ever seen on that mountain before. Hundreds who took up that fight against that XL pipeline. They took it to that mountain and they prayed to those Wakia. That's just one incident. 3 times that year of that Man Camp, the Wakia Oyate came and destroyed their storage tanks. 3 times that occurred up there. So we have to have that belief in our prayers that our ancestors are behind us. And they are. We know that. We heard that in that ceremony that night. We heard their names. They told us who they were. But we also have to believe in the Wakia Oyate, what we know about them. Because we know they have the ability to destroy life, ability to create life, both good and bad. And if we send that voice out there and believe in that prayer, they're going to come and fight this negative. They're going to come and destroy these things. We already heard it in the stories of Cheyenne River when they took up their fight. Today we're their worst enemies because now we're educated. Now we have people within the tribal structure that have expertise in their own laws and can speak their own language. And we're going to create such a fuss that they're not going to come through our homelands because it's too much trouble. Kelly already told me that the Colonel, Corps of Engineers, they're upset already about Standing Rock. Dakota Access Pipeline, they're upset because of Standing Rock. But we're Hunkpapa. That's our place to put that camp circle. And hell, now, whether they realize it or not, we're going to protect those Washitus for themselves. We're going to save them for themselves. Because if we don't, they're going to take us all over that precipice. Climate change is real. It's occurring. What's the name of this moon that we're in right now? Chanapopa. We hear all walking around with light jackets. It should be freezing outside. It's not. So that's how strong we have to be in this prayer, because it's not going to affect us in our lifetime if that pipeline goes across there. Someday it's going to burst, and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren are going to deal with that. So we got to keep meeting like this, keep coming together, but we have to have faith. Believe in that. Because we've seen those miracles all throughout our lives. My wife, when her and I first met and dated, she had cancer. That man sitting right there prayed for her with his kola, Lexi George. And she didn't have cancer after that. Because we believed in that prayer. So I'm sorry if I have emotion in my voice as I'm talking, but you put me in a situation where I got to defend my people. I'm not going to be a warm, fuzzy person. As you look back to who the Chantetes were, look back to who Tukala were, Shukskayoha, Khareyoha. They weren't warm, fuzzy people. They did what they had to on behalf of their people. And I don't want to put our women and children in danger. So if this camp goes on, what they're starting to plan, we all have to be a part of that. And that's why I came tonight, because if I'm going to be making wise decisions from that position they put me in, I need your advice. I need you to tell me what you think and share with me what you know, because it's going to help me to formulate an opinion. And then Dunkashla is going to help us when we enter into this. But the Washicho know now, they woke a giant. And if you look back at what happened with our relatives down here in that fight they took on that XL pipeline, the last time the Ochechi Shakoni stood with each other was Battle of the Greasy Grass, 1876, and look at what they accomplished. So same thing in that fight. I went to that camp in Rosebud. Okay, Facebook. Hankashi and I are really close on Facebook, but we just met each other a couple weeks ago. But the Shichangu were talking about that camp, so I was curious. I was curious about what that was. You know, I was showing pictures of teepees and flags, and I was curious. So I went down there because I wanted to know. And it wasn't on the beaten path, you know, it wasn't on their main highways. You had to look for it, otherwise you weren't going to find it. And you had to ask the Shichangu, how do you get to this place? Because you weren't going to find it, where it was at, you know. Well, when I went out there, what impressed me was that they said that day when they were going to set that up, their Wapia Wichasha came together and had that prayer. Tahashi mentioned the over 100 sun dances, but for this fight, their Wapia Wichasha came together. And they took me and they showed me where in the ground that Vajuta was, that they buried in the ground. And then they had it staked out where their Tokala were going to stake themselves out if that pipeline got that far. There were 4 men already chosen that were going to stake themselves to the ground there. As I was sitting there visiting him, a semi-truck shows up. There's big army tents everywhere and supplies all over the place. And a big semi-truck shows up. So I spent the rest of the afternoon helping him unload that truck. And I was just amazed because it was all these people that start coming together to support them. So those men and women that manned that camp, there were children in that camp too. They didn't have to leave that camp. That's how much support they were getting. So we even need our young people involved because it's the young people that understand this. That understand this technology. If we let the world know what they're doing, because in that plan, Dakota Access and that EA didn't even mention that there's people here. We're not even mentioned in that plan that there's the Standing Rock Sioux tribe right there in that way. They're trying to pull the wool over people's eyes. So that's part of the tribe's plan too, is they're trying to develop a media campaign to get people out there aware of what's happening here, so we get people behind us. So from now on, we have to be at our best. We have to be at our best. And we have to take care of ourselves. So however that is, you take care of yourself. Whether you go to a inichacha or whatever it is that you do, whether you run or play ball or whatever it is you do, take care of yourself. Make sure you take care of yourself before we come together and meet. So that when we talk, then it's just wisdom and knowledge that we're sharing back and forth. Because me, I'm not at that age to have attained what some of you have attained in your life, the wuksami that you carry. I haven't attained that in my life. Kiksao matauke kiha wachiniapalo. You know, it's not just one person or the tribal, it's all of us. Our people depend upon you now. And we're going to defeat this. Yukchapo. We're going to defeat this. Because we have right on our side. And we have Tunkashla on our side. And that's all I have to say.
You know, just to help everybody out, because when I was visiting with Pastor John and Pastor Tim and Tom and Kate, they kept bringing something up, but I had no understanding of DAPO. DAPO. Sitting there, you know, I didn't know. I was ignorant to DAPO. DAPO this and DAPO that. Geez, I had a rough time with that, and I figured it out. My goodness. That's the acronym for Dakota Access Pipeline. Yes, I said.
You felt bad when you said
I
that.
know, I didn't understand what was going on when they were talking DAPO. And you hear an acronym tonight, EA, it's Environmental Assessment. And then there's one that's even more, I guess, stronger.
EIS.
EIS, Environmental Impact Statement. And those are the two things that they're neglecting. And just like Tahashi John said that, you know, we're not even mentioned in there. We're like we don't even exist. And all the Washitas along the river going down, they're just collateral damage. You know, I don't know where their voices are. I was thinking about that today too. Where are their voices at? How come they're not speaking up? Because it's going to affect them. They have that, I can't remember what they call that pipeline that runs east of Mulbridge along Highway 20 or 12, I don't know, 12. Runs that way. They have all these big tanks and stuff that provide water to Hosmer and Selby and all east like that. That's going to all be affected.
That web project?
Huh?
Web project?
Yeah. You know, yet we don't hear anything from them. Are they living in ignorant bliss too? I don't know. Are their politicians been bought out by the corporations? You know, that thought entered my mind this day today too. So, you know, they're human beings, just like Tahashi said. But, you know, I really take a lot of, I give a lot of respect to the nephews and nieces that are coming forward and stepping up now, facing adversity and stuff like that. And one time I thought, where does Sitting Bull get all this courage and why is he so brave? It's because he had the support of the people. He had the support, not only of his family, not only of his tios, but all Oyate Iuha. Yeah, they gave him that support. And that's what we have to continue doing, because I can't picture riding a horse from Sitting Bull Camp all the way down to Little Wounded Knee. I just can't, no matter how much I ride her, I can't do that no more. That's all behind me now. But these young ones that are coming, they have that kind of energy. You know, we hit that older part, not quite as far as Ina here, but you know, we're closing in on that. And then the ones that are hung up in the middle, like Hashi John's age, the elderly, they're, you know, the elderly, they're not elderly, but they're elderly. You know, they too, you know, are asking for the younger ones' help that still can carry these things on. I didn't include Jeff in that. Forgot. He's in that elderly bracket now too. So he's quite a runner and a horseback rider too, but he's hit that. So yeah, I was watching this Facebook. Here's somebody posted on there. They had a microphone. He was like this. Reminded me of Abraham Lincoln. That Tosca Chase is here. Maybe Chase, you can lend some insight into what you acquired on this or anything else.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it when Virgil speaks Lakota, because I find through time I'm able to pick up just a little bit more each time, and it's really important to do that. So I really appreciate that. I guess I don't have too much to add, just that we're kind of resting assured that the tribe has appropriated money and is figuring out the best way to protect cultural resources through whatever laws are available. The National Historic Preservation Act, NEPA, or maybe the Clean Water Act or something, but I think we should start thinking about, I like what Everett said about our leaders should be standing on the treaty, and one way to do that is that there is an unresolved, an illegal taking of the land from the east, or the east bank of the Missouri to the mid channel. This is what happened in 1889, and I can hear in Everett's questions that we still have claims to that land, and it's very hard to convince anyone of that, but it's more important that we still feel that and that we believe that. Because when we're looking for a place along that right-of-way that follows that 750 kilovolt transmission line, I drove up there to try to find where that, I guess, to my understanding, it just follows that transmission line. There's a gas line underneath there, and that easement, which is just a legal right to pass over it, kind of like what we gave the United States when they built the railroads. We said, okay, you can build this railroad if you know, that was the treaty, 1851 and 68. There's a gas line under there, and I saw what looked like some sort of marker, but we need more intel. We need more intelligence about where that line is when we talk about building alliances. Definitely, the phrase that Virgil used was Ocheki Shakoi Chanti Inza Inajiko, I think. We need that because you have Cheyenne River right there. You have Wakwala, Canyon, Long Soldiers, Seaball right on the river. Then you also have Mandan and Hidatsa people. And I don't know the full facts on this, if their government actually approved of this Dakota Access Pipeline or received money.
Yes, they did.
Okay, so they're making decisions based on their economic prosperity and the money that they've been able to procure themselves through the fossil fuel industry. Because I see the pipeline goes right by Johnson's Corner. I know that's right by Mandaree. I don't know if it's on or off the res, but a lot of times the IRA or the tribal government doesn't represent the will of the people. Sometimes they are thinking more, they think that they're representing the will of the people because they're able to get them more dollars. And with those dollars, they can do other things. They can provide reduced cost health care, health insurance to their tribal members. They can do lots and lots of things. But there have to be people there. I know there are, because with like other organizations like the Indigenous Environmental Network, there are other organizations that have MHA people in there. I know a handful of them, just from my own personal friendships, who should join this. They should join this, because those sites aren't just our sites. Those are also Mandan and Hidatsa sites for sure. There may be a Rikara too. There's probably a Rikara. Is that what Palani means? Palani Wakwa?
Arikara.
Palani, yeah.
Arikara.
So that's our word for the river here. That is, it's kind of the valley of the Hunkpapa there, along what America calls the Grand. But I really, I just kind of want the things that I wanted to add. Were that we do need to make alliances. Even, these meetings are not, in my mind, they're not meant to be kind of big meetings. It's never really a lot of people that come together. It's just me knowing that Virgil's going to be here, me knowing Chuck's going to be here, that Joy's going to be here, that John's going to be here, that this John. That's all it is. That's all it ever probably really was people agreeing, yeah, I got your back on this. I went all the way back to the greasy grass and all that stuff when they were under a lot of pressure. And that's really what our sovereignty is too. But for the purposes of saving money, I think we should plan something for the prophecies of the grandfathers, Omnichia. I really think we should try to that's where our power is in numbers, and in nowadays, if we were well heeled, if we had a lot of money, we could fight this thing in the same sort of venues and arenas that big oil has. And there are people who have that money. There are outside organizations who have that money, but I don't know if Dakota Access is going to pick up like how Keystone XL picked up. If you remember, that thing just blew up. I remember when it came back in 2009 is when I first got involved with the Keystone XL pipeline. Oh no, maybe it wasn't called XL at that time. Remember, it was way over by the Sisseton, and it was a different route over there. And we sued TransCanada.
Keystone One.
We sued TransCanada and we lost. And I think we sued them over their duty to consult under 106, under the National Historic Preservation Act. And we lost that. So I don't want to question how much money is going to go to engineers and biologists and lawyers, because those people cost a lot of money. And $500,000 in my mind is a lot of money, like, to fight this thing. I was kind of like just expecting like 20 grand or something, you know what I mean? But the districts need to work together as well. If I understand it correctly, our districts are each going to receive some money for purposes of kind of dealing with this. And we're going to be able to accomplish a lot. The whole thing, I'm confident in the capabilities of the people who are in this room and the immediate allies. But we don't know when construction is going to start up there. But I really, if I could just throw a vote out, is to kind of coordinate something during that grandfather's gathering, because we're going to have a lot of grandfathers and grandmothers, and there's going to be enough people there. that we could project, our energy through media. I'm talking to an old friend of mine who is good with the film, and he probably wouldn't charge us anything to make a video presentation. But as far as the camp location and all that stuff, I mean, even the reason why I mentioned the treaty, like Everett was saying, is because I think we can get to the river on both sides of the river. I mean, we can get there without having to trespass on anyone's land. We might, the Corps is probably going to say we're trespassing, but we we create the legal theory to defend our right to do that. And then, so that's a dangerous thing too, because we might lose. We might spend this money. I know other good attorneys who have the time and the practice and expertise to research and to try to create. This is kind of how we do battle now. Whether it's taxation or jurisdiction, land rights, sacred sites. I mean, you create a legal strategy for your people who are willing to put themselves on the line for these things. In an ideal world, sometimes the tribe isn't going to put up geshpops to fund this type of stuff. But if they're willing to do that, then that is good, and we need to take advantage of that. And just that's how it should be. I mean, that's really how it should be. Even if Charles is the only one here, from an elected capacity. I mean, he's here as a human being too, not just as president of council. But he could relay the message back, and no doubt that the chairman is going to have to take up the torch here, because no matter what the circumstances, the outside world is going to be looking right here. It's going to be looking right to Standing Rock here. Seaball is going to be under the microscope. They've got to step up. Because I'm for putting a camp, but the camp I think should go right where the pipelines are leading. I don't know if that was the case in Rosebud.
Yeah, it was.
They went. So there's people we could work with to find a landowner off the res, because both of those situations, they were on the res. All the boys in Bridger and the women in Bridger, they were willing to stand up if that thing ever came through there. Thankfully, it didn't. Our situation is a little different because we don't own land there. It's coming right through the Cannonball Ranch, my understanding there is somebody received money there too, but there's people in biz that we could work with who would know if there are any friendly landowners, friendly to our cause, somebody who maybe got eminent domain imposed on them or something like that.
Well, there's things that must be considered in that, and I don't mean to interrupt you, Chase.
That's all right.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but if you'll let me do that.
Yeah. No. This is I don't have. I'm just talking, and I pretty much said what I need to say.
First off, I'd like to say I come to you as a member of the THPO department, as the tribal archaeologist for Standing Rock Sioux Tribe, and then I come to you as a human being, as a person who believes in the work that needs to be done here. I went to the meeting down in Niobrara, Nebraska, which was the 18th and the 19th, on Thursday and Friday. And it was the third meeting that's been held. I was given a directive by the chairman to go down and to let them know that although Standing Rock, I was representing them, that it was not formal consultation. And so when I introduced myself, I said that right away. Just to give a little bit of background, this is the third meeting that's been held. They held the meeting in Sioux Falls in December. They held a meeting in January, and that was also in Sioux Falls. The first meeting, I wasn't at that meeting. I was not at the second meeting. This is the first meeting that I've been at. The first meeting, I understand, went pretty well and then got off track. The second meeting didn't go well at all. This meeting, on the 18th, we met with the Corps of Engineers on the first day, and it went pretty well. And so the players in this are the Corps of Engineers, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. They just got involved as of November, or there was a plan for it prior to that, but formally they just got involved recently, and they were there at this meeting also. And then all of the tribes that were there was Ponca tribe of Nebraska, which were hosting the meeting at Niobrara at their headquarters, and Santee was represented, Rosebud was represented, Cheyenne River was represented. I was there representing Standing Rock. Osage was there, and Northern Cheyenne was there, and Minnesota Chippewa Creek were there. They were all individuals who were members of THPO departments, such as myself. And so the first day went pretty well, and try to give you as brief as a background as I can. And I'll speak to my role there as the tribal archaeologist and speaking, and then I'll give you a little bit about the community organizing perspective that I think has to happen with this. The second day of the meeting did not go well at all. The first day, it was a little contentious at times. We were definitely letting the Corps of Engineers know, you messed up. Here's how we see you messed up. And there were a number of us that spoke. And we had a lot of dialogue going back and forth. Some of us have met with a number of these people at various meetings over and over again. So we've got a relationship that we've built with them. And so, familiar faces. And so, relationship building is important. And so, on some levels, there's members of the Corps of Engineers that are our allies, believe it or not. And the colonel was there. It got off a little bit off on the wrong foot to start. The colonel's he's a young man. He's maybe my and John's age. He's a pretty young man. He's not an elder. He's kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. He's the new colonel, and so he's new to this, and he's being told things on his end of things. And so he introduced himself, and he basically said that the Corps of Engineers is not that they are not for or against this pipeline. He said that they had to follow the law, and that this was that part of what the Corps of Engineers does is things that are in the national interest and energy independence, as we've heard these arguments before. This is old news to us. That first meeting, that first day went well. The second day, we did a tribal caucus in the morning for about an hour and a half, and then the Corps of Engineers, U.S. Fish and Wildlife folks, and Dakota Access DAPO folks came into the room. They were not invited to the meeting, but we invited them into the room. They were there simply for doing logistics in terms of the housing of the people that came there, which is another topic altogether. When Monica Howard started to speak, it was attitude and tone that was inappropriate to those of us who were native in the room. We picked up on it right away. And she said within 5 minutes, we would like for you, and this is a really crucial, important point, we would like for you to, because it had been discussed at the first meeting with Ben Rod, and that we would like for you to participate, as we've discussed in at the first meeting, that we would like you to survey those lands, those virgin lands, about 126 miles of them in North Dakota and South Dakota. Those private lands that those private landowners will not give them easements on. And so they've never been plowed. They've never, to a large degree, been dug. So they may have cattle on them, but they're still in their original state as they've been for millennia to a large degree. Those sites are intact, in other words. So she's prefaced with, we'd like you to come, we'd like to enter into this, and we've decided, I've been sent to tell you, since you've invited us in, even though they weren't invited to the meeting, because the tribes felt that they should meet by themselves, and with the Corps and the Fish and Wildlife Service. They've been invited in, they've said this, we'd like you to come survey these lands, but with the caveat that you end today federal consultation. And everybody just went, huh? What? You can't tell us that. It was very disturbing. The tribes, Osage spoke first, I spoke, then Rod, the Corps of Engineers said, you have no place saying that. You can't tell us you can't tell us as an agency when we will stop or end. You can't tell them that they have to participate, you can't do that. So, as from the very beginning, Dakota Access Pipeline, Dakota Access as a company, a subsidiary of Energy Transfer, really doesn't know what the hell they're doing. And so with that, we weren't 5 minutes in when they said that, when she spoke that, and I said, well, that was a short meeting. And they were giving us an ultimatum. So we argued about it for about 20 minutes, and then she was asked to call her boss, Joey, who's the project director for Dakota Access. And so she couldn't get him on the line, so we asked, well, we're going to caucus again, and the tribes caucused again for about another hour, and then they came back in, able to get Joey on the line, and Joey had even more attitude. Joey threw it out there that we've been trying to work with Standing Rock for 19 months. And I said, wait, hold up. And then he started dissing Washtenaw Young. And I jumped right in. I stood up for Standing Rock. I stood up for Washtenaw. I said to them, no. Wait a minute. Standing Rock has been here from the beginning. From the time that you came in November 2014 and spoke to the council, where Chairman Archambault informed you, Tim Med Sr. informed you, and Washtenaw Young, as the TIPO at that time, informed you that this is not formal tribal consultation. Thank you for coming. You've been invited. You came. You're sitting here. You've talked to us, but this is not formal consultation. In that EA, they basically stated this was where they started formal consultation with Standing Rock, and that Washtenaw Young had said that it's a one-paragraph thing that they afforded us. Washtenaw Young, as the TIPO at that time, had said horizontal directional drilling is okay with us. And then to leave us out, there's no impoverished communities. the EA was written by a junior archaeologist at best. It was just, that thing's just pitiful. So in telling you that, Joey then said, Monica, you guys pick up your stuff and leave the room. We're done. And then he tried to tell me that I was threatening them. And I said, I'm not threatening you. You just gave us an ultimatum. Oh, no. She wasn't sent there to do that. Excuse me. I said, Monica, did you say this? Yes. Monica, who asked you? Who gave you the directive to say this? I get a little excitable at times. And I was, without a doubt, me and Joey were going back and forth. He was on the line. And so I said, Monica, did you say this? Yes. Who gave you the directive to say this? My boss, Joey. So Joey had to admit. And then he basically said, well, we're done. You guys get out of the room. And that was done. There's some logistical things in terms of, so I give you a background of what happened at the meeting. This is when Joey and Dakota Access came on that second day, I let them know, again, Chairman Archambault sent me down here to let you know this is not formal consultation. That formal consultation, the initiation of it, as far as Standing Rock is concerned, will start when the colonel comes to meet with us as a nation next week, Friday. And so I give you that background and tell you that this is extremely contentious. There's not going to be any survey on those private lands now, so as far as when we left that meeting. And so Chase, when I say we need to figure out who those private landowners are on those where they haven't received those easements yet, and we need to partner with them and that's pretty easy to figure out. And we need to get all of those people, the Cowboys and Indians and the border, the Nebraska. We need to pull on those same resources of people that came together with Keystone XL. We don't need to recreate the wheel here. But I will tell you that this is much different than Keystone XL. At the crossing on either side are sites. I'm asking that everyone be respectful of the sites. We cannot camp on the sites. If we camp on the sites, we're disrespecting the sites and we're destroying them. Yeah.
I wanted to add that when I worked with that wind farm by Pollock, Pollock,
Yeah.
they had some cultural sites that really had signs put up. So why Standing Rock? And what happened? I mean, we already had 55 windmills.
Well, that's another story altogether, and we fought hard on that. And the ACHP did not agree with us on that, and so they shut us down. Where this one is concerned, it is different because we can't go trampling on sites. Please, that's what we do. We protect sites. We can't camp at the sites. But I will say that where and we can walk on Corps land if they give us permission or not give us permission. But realize you're walking on sites, and so and there's sites all throughout. They are putting those valves in the HDD. They intend to put them just outside of Corps land. It's going to be on Cannonball Ranch property. It's private property on either side of the river, and that the Cannonball Ranch folks have been paid, from my understanding. But again, that whole area is a historic site and an archaeological site. It's multi-nation, multi-generational, multi-component. And there's stuff there that, where, in my mind, and this is the community organizing, I'm taking the THPO tribal archaeologist hat off, and I'm putting the community organizer hat on, and I'm asking that we consider, as members of the communities that we live in, to organize together, the community. It has to be a coalition, And where we need to protest that, we need to get the proper permits. And where we need that nonviolent training. And where we need to, and this is the chairman and others might not approve of this, but where we need to protest is right at 1806, right to the entrance, right on the right of way, and we need to block the highway. We need to block the highway. The other thing that I will say as a community organizing end of things is that we have North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, and Illinois. And every site along is important to us, not just the crossings. And so we can't lose focus of the whole picture.
When I went down to Iowa, well, I've been fighting this thing from the where it starts all the way down to Illinois. So I've been down the whole thing. Went to Iowa. One of the things down in Iowa is there's cultural sites down there, mounds, and other sites in Iowa that are endangered.
Yes.
And the Meskwaki are the only tribe over there in Iowa, and they're really, really concerned. They need serious help. And I don't mean to interrupt what you're
That's okay.
saying, but for this grandfather's meeting, can we invite the Meskwaki? We need to get them here. The other thing that I wanted was, you were talking about alliances. You were talking about cowboys and Indians and whatnot. Can we invite the Iowan landowners? What's going on in Iowa right now is there's 295 or 297 individual landowners that are fighting eminent domain. So if you want to start building those alliances, and they have a really good chance to stop it there if they fight each one of those eminent domain things. So we need to build those alliances. So if we invite Iowa landowners and any landowners in North Dakota and South Dakota that are affected, at least on one of those days, and have some kind of a gathering, ceremony, something to cement that alliance, that would be amazing, Chase, especially for what you're talking about with Phil. And getting that out. You see what I'm talking about?
If you could just say, we need a contact down there. Maybe you got somebody who knows those guys.
I can get hold of Bakken Resistance. They're the ones that are
I think that's the ticket right there, because I was surprised by that Iowa headline. That freaking blew my mind.
Well, Bakken Resistance is made up of multiple landowners. I know like 3 or 4 of them in there. I can get hold of Tabitha. She's in Iowa and Illinois, and she knows people in Illinois too. See, if that would be amazing.
What are resources that other people can help us up there?
Yeah, and that young lady is probably thinking I forgot totally about her. She gave me her card and sent me an email,
yeah,
and I haven't responded yet, but I intend to.
Okay. Nicole.
Dustin. Just let me finish out, and it won't take me but a few minutes, and then I'll be done. The South Dakota PUC, excuse me, thank you.
Long day.
Very long day. The South Dakota PUC, they're being challenged with an injunction by Yankton right now. We need to get on the stick and make sure that we check to see if the comment period and or the opportunity to challenge the North Dakota decision to pass this is passed yet. It may very well be, but we still may have an opportunity. And in terms of the ACHP, I'm putting the archaeology hat back on. Our office, John, needs to send a letter to the ACHP ASAP, with a letter also, or it going directly out from the chairman. We cannot organize enough, and we are at the 11th hour. We are way past due, and we need to gather, and we need to organize together and this is so monumental. I don't know how they pull it off with Keystone XL, but we need help. We need to help the Meskwaki because they have absolutely no money. We need to have Standing Rock step up, take the lead. This is ours in terms of the crossing. But Standing Rock has always taken the lead. They took the lead with Keystone XL. If we're going to take the lead there, why wouldn't we with this? And so we have to help. We have to organize, and we have to do it now. And I'll leave it at that. And I'm taking the THPO tribal archaeologist hat off. I'm putting back on the community organizing hat and the human hat, and I'm saying, I know that this